All right, weather. I actually wrote another book called How to Find a Good Weather Forecast. We all want to know that, right? I really think that the internet has been detrimental to weather forecasting. And I'll tell you why. How many of you have a cell phone? How many of you have a weather app on your cell phone? How many of you look at that to get the forecast? Oh, man. That's bad. All right, I'll explain why. How do we make a forecast? The atmosphere acts like a big river, and it flows around the planet. And there are waves in that ocean. There are little eddies in that ocean. And we can calculate, we can use equations to, Newtonian physics here, to calculate when those waves are going to arrive from California to Baltimore and what it's going to do. So these equations that some very smart people have come up with are about this long. And I had to learn all of them in school. And over the last 10 years, there have been probably a dozen computer models developed that do that take the initial state of the atmosphere and then extrapolate it out in that ocean or that flow of water and try to calculate what the weather is going to be like here in Baltimore 3 hours from now, 6 hours from now, 2 days from now, 8 days from now, and so on. And there used to be only 2 or 3, but now there's literally like a dozen. And it's my job as a meteorologist to look at those computer models, all of them, the ones that I trust, the ones that I like, and decide which one makes sense. And those of you that are in computer programming, you'll understand this. You put junk in, you get junk out. Sometimes computer models, they initialize wrong. They're going to give you wrong answers. So the job of a meteorologist is to look at those computer models, throw in your own 2 cents, your own judgment based on what I know about the Maryland weather, downsloping mountains, bay, ocean, all that kind of stuff, and then try to decide what the high temperature is going to be tomorrow. 79, 78, 82, rain, no rain, snow, 6 inches, 4 inches, 3 inches, whatever. Your cell phone only looks at one of those computer models. And if the computer model initialized wrong or it's not put together well, it's going to give you bad answers. So while the science has progressed to the point now where I think it's very accurate in the short term, for the next couple of days at least, I think because most people get the weather off of their cell phones now, I think the perception has become that the forecasting has gotten worse. And what you really need to do is find a source, if you're going to be on the internet, where the forecast is produced by a real person. Because a real person can look at all of those different computer models and then try to decide which one doesn't make any sense. This one's saying 10 inches of snow, that's never going to happen. Throw that one out. You know, that kind of stuff. So my advice to you is, on how to find a good weather forecast, is to find one where there are real people doing the forecasting if you insist on going on the internet. That's where television news is still relevant, in my opinion. Because at most TV stations, you have real people doing the weather forecasting, as opposed to one computer model. So a newscast may not be relevant in many ways anymore. You can get the weather on your phone, you can get the news on your phone, you can get the sports scores on your phone, right? It's instant information now. But the weather forecast is a little different than what you find on the internet and what you find on your phone. So that's, I'm not just saying that because I work in television news. My advice to everybody is always either find a source on the internet where there's a real person forecasting, or watch the news. You got to find a place that you trust too. Now, what is a weather forecast? That's a tough one. A lot of people think that a weather forecast is a statement of fact. It's going to be sunny tomorrow and 82. It's not a statement of fact. That's my opinion on what it's going to be tomorrow, because nobody knows the future for sure, right? The future's not written in stone. Not when you're talking about your own life or you're talking about tomorrow's weather. You're talking about a future event. So all I can really do, and any of us can really do, is give you my opinion on the highest probability outcome. Based on all that stuff that I look at, it's my opinion, the highest probability outcome is we're going to get 4 inches of snow, and the high temperature tomorrow is going to be 32 degrees. It's not a statement of fact. I can look at what you have for lunch every day. I call this the peanut butter and jelly analogy. And I can see that you had peanut butter and jelly for lunch almost every day last week. And I can make a guess and say, it's a really good probability that you're going to have peanut butter and jelly tomorrow for lunch. It's a good chance of that. Does that mean you're for sure going to have peanut butter and jelly? No. You could decide at the last second to have pizza. And sometimes Mother Nature at the last second decides to have pizza. It happens, you know? We don't know the future for sure. Not when we're talking about your lives or weather forecasting.